Hello and welcome back to ABG Investor Days. My name is Adrian Gilani and I'm an equity research analyst here at ABG within the cap goods sector. Our next presentation will be with Absolent Group, and with me today we are glad to be joined by CEO of Absolent, Axel Berntsson, who will give a short presentation, and then hopefully we'll have time for some Q&A after that as well. So Axel, you can go ahead with your presentation.
Great. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here and present to all of you today. Hopefully we can also have a good Q&A with a lot of interesting questions at the end. But let's get going. I will give you an intro to our group and what we do. So I think for those of you who are listening to us or reading about us for the first time, is on the highest level, what we do is that we clean air. So it's air that is polluted from some kind of a production process, and we have solutions to manage that. That's the heart of what we do. We can go to the next page. And air pollution is a big problem for two reasons. The first thing, it has massive impact on people's health. Sure, some of you have read the reports from WHO where they conclude that around 91% of the population of the world is breathing polluted air every day, and that is the second largest reason for premature death in the world, linked to around 7 million people dying prematurely. And I think it's also good then to put the relation here to the areas where we are active, so around manufacturing. It's not uncommon that the pollution levels inside factories are 10 times higher than what they are in polluted cities. I think we can only imagine what that does to life expectancy of people that work in polluted manufacturing. Can move on. The second part is also pretty obvious. It's around the climate. Of course, air pollution has a huge impact on the climate change that we're all seeing and feeling every day. And I'm not going to go into too much detail of that today. You probably know that our planet can absorb around 55% of all the things that we pollute today when it comes to greenhouse gases, and that generates a surplus of 45%, and that then is driving the increased temperatures on our planet. Of course, a big and important topic as well. We can move on. So the market where companies work to solve these issues around air pollution, to help people and help the planet, is pretty large. We can estimate that this market is around $20 billion in size globally on the industrial side, and another around $8 billion on commercial kitchen ventilation. And the reason why we split this out, because this is how we organize and run our company. We have an industrial division and a commercial kitchen division. But then we're also working with something that is more futuristic and, let's say, even more high potential, but also higher risk area, that is carbon capture, which is an area where we are investing quite a bit of R&D resources to see if we can be part of helping that. That today is not a big market, but we do expect that to grow exponentially over the next few years. Overall, we expect that this market grows around 5% per year. The industrial side grows a bit faster than that, while the commercial kitchen side is a bit slower in growth, but steadier than the industrial side. We can move on. So how we win in this market is that we win by our application knowledge. So we take a lot of pride in having a detailed understanding of our customers' processes and what it takes to solve their problems around air pollution in those processes. And the foundation of that is a very, very good filtration product portfolio. So we build everything we do basically around understanding the customer's processes and then having filter units that can solve those needs. We are a very curious company, innovation driven, which means that we do spend quite a lot of time and effort trying to improve the solutions that we already have, but also look into what else is new on the market. Can we acquire those companies? Can we create joint ventures? Can we have collaboration with companies that are doing something new and innovative, and trying to bring that into our portfolio? We can move on. We're pretty proud of the impact that we're having on the planet. So this may be a big number, but we clean around 350 million cubic meters of air through our filters every day. I think that is to put that in perspective, it's like emptying the Globe Arena in Stockholm every 6 seconds and cleaning all that air inside. So it's a lot of air that we clean. And it also means that we're protecting a lot of people at work. We estimate that we protect around 3 million people that can go to their work and breathe fresh and clean air every day. And of course, then not be at risk of shortening their life because of this reason at work anyhow. Can move on. So if we then translate this impact into financial numbers, we have an annual turnover of just north of 1 billion SEK per year. We're also pretty proud that we have had a long, strong growth trend in our company. So we have had a CAGR on growth of around 20% per year, averaging that over the past decade. And we have averaged around 20% EBITDA over this period as well. So we are a pretty profitable and high growth company. And we should then, of course, put this into relation to the general market that has an EBITDA around 7% in our field, and are then having the growth that we saw on the market side around 5%. So significantly outperforming the air cleaning market and the competition in general. We have generated this growth through different paths, but one of them is through acquisitions, which stands for about half our growth, which also then, if you look at that, means that we are outpacing the competition on organic growth, but then adding more through these acquisitions. And we have been able to take a small Swedish company and internationalize it and go out in the world. And today, Sweden is a pretty small market for us, while we have presence not everywhere, but in most industrialized countries in the world. Can move on. So like I said, we have two divisions. We have an industrial division, and you can see that we have 6 main brands here that have various technologies that are fit for different type of purposes and different type of customers. A lot of that is focused around metalworking industry. So it's a machining, it is welding, it's cutting, it is metal forming of different kinds, but also connected to food and pharma and things like that. And then we have a commercial kitchen division, where you see on the picture on the right-hand side, on the top left of that picture, you see some metal parts, and that is basically what we do. So that is parts that filter air and let fresh air into the restaurant again to protect the people that you see on the bottom of the picture. And we can move on from this slide. So to help us here, we have all these different technologies, and what we try to show here is of course it's a made-up workshop, but it's not untypical. On the right-hand side, in the back of the picture, you have, because I just assume that you don't see my pointer, so I'll try to describe where you see it. But on the top right, in the back, you see an elevated gray box, and that is a filter unit that we manufacture, that in this case is connected to 8 metal, we call them CNC machines. They're connected through this ducting. So we suck all the air out from those machines, and we clean that in that filter and let it back into the workshop clean and fresh again. On the left-hand side, you see some welding boots here, and they are connected to a gray box on the top left of the picture. That is also a dust filter. And then we have the small boxes on the top of the machines to the little bit to the left of the middle of this slide that are smoke filters connected to those bar turning machines or what it may be. So that's practically what we do. We have a lot of different filtration technologies. We have also a few technologies to manage molecular pollutions. And we have a service offering where we do installation work, we manage spare parts, we have connected units so you can monitor them remote and then order the service when they are really needed. And we do various type of testing and reporting services around this. Can move on. So what you see here is our products, or a portion of our products that we do. And the reason why we show this is not because I expect you to know and understand all these products, but it's important that we are a product-centric company. So we really like these boxes and the technology that go inside them. And you're probably going to see over time that we expand this portfolio of offerings of various types of filtration units. And yeah, this is what you will see when you visit our factories and visit our customers. We can move on. Our customer base is very diverse, as we do many different things. But something that is interesting is that we have a lot of really well-renowned big companies that we have had the opportunity to follow around the world. Typically, we enter them in one country, and we do a good job, and they like the technologies that we have, and then we can expand to country after country after country with those customers. A typical one is our first customer that we had is SKF, and we are now with SKF in dozens of countries, helping them out clean the air in their factories. But it's also interesting we have some smaller ones in relation to like a Nobel Biocare that do, for example, dental implants that have extremely high needs in their factories. So we can work with them. We can learn a lot from their applications that we then can take that knowledge and use that to serve also the more broader and bigger customers that we have. And it's a little bit the same on the commercial kitchen side, where we have the Michelin star restaurants, but also the big multinational chains like McDonald's, Burger King, and the likes, and so on. So, and we like that. We like to have the really high demand specialty cases, learn from that, take that knowledge, expand it, and grow using that knowledge in bigger companies around the world. Can move on. A case just to show you, I'm not going to go into too many details, but today you will see a lot of factories being built around battery production. We are helping the customers in some of those to clean the air inside. The air pollution is not really the same as if there's a combustion engine that they're building, because here it's more gas-oriented problems rather than particle-oriented problems. But in this case, we have helped Samsung in Hungary to clean the air in their new battery factory. And it's a pretty big factory, it's a lot of airflow, and it's a very successful installation with a happy customer in the end. And of course, we have many more of these type of battery productions that we're doing at the moment. We can move on. Another pretty nice case is från. For those of you who are Swedish, you probably know that they have a few Michelin stars as well. And I think one thing that we were very proud of is that when they did a white guide review, they specifically praised the air quality inside this restaurant and said it must have been a restaurant or a ventilation genius that have created that system. And of course, our local team that did that is very proud of it. And so are we as a management team, that we have the really high skill in our team to be able to do that and help the customers to get what they need. We can move on. So you saw our CAGR number before, around 20%, and it's interesting that that is not only for the last 10 years, that's been going on since we founded the company back in 1993. We've had a strong growth year by year by year, and that's really something that's engraved in our DNA as a company. We're a high growth business. We invest a lot in growth. Our people are hungry for growth. And as you can see, it's both through organic and through acquisitions. This year, we have actually carved out and divested 2 small businesses as well that don't longer fit with our strategy. I think that is something you will see over time, that we will also sell 1 or 2 businesses that don't fit. Because typically you buy a company and that company has perhaps 70% of that is something that we really like, but 30% doesn't really fit our strategy. So then we will try to carve that out and sell it and really focus on what we are best at, which is developing, manufacturing, and selling filtration units. We can move on. Our vision is to continue on this growth path, and path we think we are just in the beginning. It's a massive market, like I said before, and the market is built up by thousands of little companies, and it's pretty suited for acquisitive growth. And we will continue to look for good companies, but only add good and strong companies to our portfolio, and hopefully we can continue and to have our high growth culture within the group, so we can continue and have a strong organic growth as well. We can move on. So our growth strategy is built around 3 things. First of all, we have very good companies in our group, and we will continue to grow them. We will invest in them and help them to grow even further. We are adding opportunities for them to collaborate. As you said, we are very decentralized in the way we steer our company. So we have independent P&Ls on each and every one of these, and we put a lot of pressure and invest a lot in each one of those so that they can continue to grow on their own. But of course, we're also trying to inspire that we collaborate, we learn from each other, and get synergies out when it makes sense, and it's something that both companies in that case really desire. Then we have a growth agenda connected to M&A, where we are particularly looking for strong independent companies that have a good position in the market, so that they can continue to grow and have a reason for us to believe that they will continue on their growth and continue to be very profitable. So, companies that have a low growth and low profitability is not really something we're looking for, but the stars of our industry we want to have in the family. The third block of growth is what we call breakthrough innovations, where we are looking to make something different, add something new to the market, where we can continue to outpace our competitors by being more innovative. We can look at some of that on the next page. So one of the areas that we are working hard on at the moment is on the carbon capture. I will not show you too many details as this is pretty sensitive. This is a new development, but we decided a bit more than a year ago to invest into this field. So we went in and we built one prototype, so we know that we are able to capture CO2 and store it. And now, of course, we are working prototype after prototype to improve the system. And here the key is a little bit like a heat pump. You need to have the right energy efficiency of the system. So if you put one CO2 equivalent in terms of energy, you need to get 2 out. And this energy balance is the trick. I think we're on a good path to solve that and have a very efficient unit, but a bit too early to say. But so far we followed the time plan, we've done what we were supposed to do, and we've had results that we were expecting along this process. I will say that this is something that can make a huge difference for us and for the planet if we do this right. But who knows, it could be also a failure, you never know. But what we're doing different to everybody else that you see doing carbon capture solutions, that everybody else are trying to make huge installations connected to a power plant or something like that. What we are trying to do is build these small filter boxes so you can take a small carbon capture unit and plug it into your normal manufacturing process. So we are not looking to build a million tons of CO2 per year units. We are planning to build thousands of 20, 30, 40 ton per year units. And we think that differentiates us in a good way, but also we know that we have the customers for that, as we are already present in all those customers. We already had pre-filtered air in this case that are clean from particles and clean from a lot of gas pollutions. And we have also generated the airflow required to put them through the next level of filtration. And if you look at other carbon capture solutions, you will see, if you look at a picture of that, all you're going to see are massive fans. And that bit we already have practically for free in our solutions. So we do have a lot of advantage because we have the customer access and we have part of the process already solved without other filtration units that we have installed at these customers. Can move on. Lastly, to touch on our last quarter, that may also be out of interest. So we had a growth of 19% quarter over quarter previous year. We improved our EBITDA by 49% and we improved our EBITDA margin by 3%. Then we should also say that we are comparing to a COVID year when we do that. But when it comes to profitability, we had higher profitability also compared to what we did in Q4 2019 pre-COVID. So our profitability is on a very good trend, and so is our growth at the moment. With that, I think we are out of presentation time, and we move over to some Q&A.
Okay, thank you, Axel, for that interesting presentation. I'll jump straight ahead with a few questions here, and I'd like to start off a bit with M&A, since that's a very important part of your growth strategy. Can you talk a bit about sort of your M&A rationale when you acquire companies? Are you looking to acquire companies to enter into new geographies, to gain new customers, new technologies? Talk a bit about the decision process there.
I think it's actually all of the above, but it depends case by case what we're looking for. The most important thing for us is that we buy a company that has a good position, that would add something to us, and that they have a good growth trend, and that they are profitable, and that we believe that they can continue as a standalone business. Because we are not too interested in doing a lot of integration. We're not interested in managing a lot of problems. So we want healthy, nice businesses. But as we are pretty early in our growth, we are also looking for the new technologies that will be in addition to what we have today. But for that, we're also pretty picky. We do have a strong portfolio ourselves from technology point of view. So if you're going to add something that you have to be pretty good and really have something different. I think as we continue to grow, it will be more and more that we actually just acquire market share and then hopefully have some technology in the portfolio that we can give to these companies to help them continue to grow.
Okay, and obviously there are a few other companies out there as well that are sort of trying to consolidate the HVAC market. Have you seen multiples go up in recent years that you've had to pay to do acquisitions, or are they more or less the same? And what has been the sort of average multiple that you had to pay?
So I think that the players that are in the HVAC market are not the same players that are in the air filtration market. I think typically the HVAC players are somebody we buy components from when it comes, we buy fan, we buy ducting and so on needed for a system installation. The filtration units is something that they don't have. So the markets are slightly different. And something here that we do differently when it comes to M&A, which is something that holds down the multipliers, is that most of the companies that are looking for acquisitions are only considering companies that are of a certain size, let's say 150, 200 million and up. We are also interested in a bit smaller companies or building a structure in our group to be able to manage small acquisitions. Because if you look at our market, it consists of thousands of little companies, typically between 5 and 10 million euro in size, so 50 million SEK. For that, you need to be able to be good at managing that, and typically large companies are not. And therefore, there's not too much competition around these acquisitions, and the multipliers are still fairly low and hasn't changed much. They are, say, in average, we have paid around 5 times EBITDA for the companies that we have acquired, and that seems to still be the levels that we are discussing in the processes that we are in at the moment.
Okay. And looking at your new sort of carbon capture solutions, how far away are these from commercialization? Is it possible to say at the moment?
It's difficult to say, and I don't want to give a firm date on that until we are certain that we will actually do it. I mean, best case, we start selling them early 2023. I think worst case, we never get something to market because we fail in that development. But it's better to come back to that when we have something that we are certain of.
Okay. And also this might be a difficult question to answer, or too early to answer this question, but is it possible already to say whether your carbon capture solutions will also have a positive margin effect on group level?
It's a bit too early, but we don't see any reason why we will not have similar or better margins when we do this. We don't see it as a low margin business in any way. It should contribute. And I mean, in general, we don't look for any businesses that don't have the potential to have an EBITDA above 20%. So we do have that type of expectation here as well.
Okay. And also in terms of the market growth, you showed us that the market has been growing at around 5% per year. Can you talk about what type of organic growth you're targeting for Absolent going forward?
We don't have any public targets for our organic growth, and we also don't publish what rate we do have. But the only thing I'm going to say, there's no reason why we will not be able to keep outpacing the market for the next few years, like we have done over the last 25 years. There's nothing that has really changed in that. So we do have a fairly good confidence and believe in our ability to outperform competition. That I can say.
Okay. So talk a bit about that, because obviously one part of that is because of acquisitions, but as you mentioned, you've also outperformed in terms of organic growth. And so what has been the main factors behind that, do you think, that you've been able to outperform in terms of organic growth?
I think a couple of things stand out for us. One thing is that we have a stronger technology portfolio and a better application knowledge than most competitors has, which means that once we get in, we are able to convince the customer to choose our solutions. So our win rate is higher than everybody else, and we have a culture where people are really pushing for that growth. We are chasing it every day. We have, our sales teams are pretty driven when it comes to generating business. I think that culture is very difficult to copy. Practically.
Okay. And also, I think I have time for one or two more questions here. I already asked a bit about acquisitions, but you also talked about divestments as well. What sort of goes into the decision process when you decide that something doesn't fit in your group?
I mean, fundamentally, it needs to fit our own strategy, right, of what we want to do, and the segments that we want to go after, the type of products that we want to have. That's one thing. The second thing is that if we don't believe in the future growth rate and profit generation of these businesses, that is also something that puts you on the red list for us. If you're not able to generate the type of profit, the type of growth that we're looking for, and we're not able to fix that, then we would prefer to divest it and focus on what we are really good at and successful at. And I think this is something we will always do. I do believe in continuously trimming our organization, both when it comes to operational efficiency, but also on our ability to generate money on the deals that we do. And I think it's important for our culture that we keep that drive and that push and that clarity for the team that we need to be high performing to be part of this group.
Okay. I think with that, we're going to have to round off since we have another presentation starting in a few minutes. I'd like to thank you again for your presentation and for answering all of my questions. And I'll just leave it up to you if you'd like to say any final remarks before we round off.
No, I think I'm very happy for it. Thank you for the presentation. Maybe good to know that we have very little exposure to Russia and Belarus. I guess we have less than 3% of our revenue going for that. And we have stopped all the business to this area. It's good to know.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.